you hate it when you have an idea in mind and then you look for it and it just like doesn't exist anywhere except for your mind? Welcome here. My name is Katie Nolful and I make impractical crafts and lifestyle content here on my channel, and this week I've decided to make myself a bunch of weird sleeves. So the story behind this is my original video this week didn't work out. I'm taking it and I'm putting it over there. So I've decided, instead of like taking it easy and doing something that I usually enjoy, I've decided to sew something, which normally, if you've been here, I get really frustrated doing. So I went to the store and I found 4 tank tops. 2 of them are white and 2 of them are black, and we are going to attach a bunch of weird sleeves on them, and then we're going to have a little fashion show. I have 3 sewing patterns that I bought from Joann's recently when I went for my last big Joann's shopping trip. And then, because I have a 4th tank top, I decided why not try making a pattern myself and seeing how it goes.
I am quite optimistic here, and I'm very sorry to say we only ended up making 2 pairs of sleeves, but it is what it is.
Let's do that. And did I mention I'm doing this all in one day? Happy Saturday, and I'm also going to a book fair later. So we have like 3 hours to do all this, so we are going to hop straight on into it. Thank you so much for being here, and let's just get going.
Right around now, you might be asking yourself, hey Katie, where is your sewing machine that you found on the side of the road? And I am here to tell you that it is actually currently the sewing machine in our local production of Fiddler on the Roof. So for now, I have my little white table, and I did use chicken broth as pattern weights, so don't judge me. We are doing our best over here. With my patterns cut out, it was time to move over to my sewing machine. The first thing that this sleeve pattern called for was for some elastic, so I made a little sleeve, like a tube, so that I could put the elastic through, and then I used the safety pin method, which is where you attach a safety pin to the elastic so that you can thread it through without a whole lot of pain. And honestly, because the only elastic that I had was so thin, I could have made this much smaller, but honestly, I was winging it. As you can see, I don't have any kind of pins down, and I don't know what got into me because this is kind of unlike me. I took an activity that I already find kind of stressful, being sewing, and made it even more stressful on myself by not following the normal precautions that one does when sewing. After that, I sewed the 2 sides of the sleeve together so that I had the center seam, and then I went through and I hemmed around the edge of the sleeve so that I would not have that raw edge. Would you look at that? Some pins have finally made an appearance. Thank goodness. Where was I? Taking my tank top, I went through and I made sure to line up my 2 center seams to make sure that they would at least match. And then I pinned all the way around to make sure that it would fit the sleeve. And I ended up making the biggest size of the 2 patterns that I had gotten. For the Vogue, the biggest size that I had was a size 14, and for the McCalls, which is this black one that I'm doing currently, I had a size 22. And so there is quite a difference between the two in the regards of size due to the actual pattern size that I did, and not so much the pattern themselves, which you'll see later. was pretty similar. The big difference was instead of elastic, this one called for gathering, which I had done many times before, especially for one costume that I worked on for a local theater quite recently. So I was pretty proud of myself that I actually knew how to do that without looking it up. So we're at least learning. Y'all want to see like the most stressful part of this video though? I literally had so little thread that it was so stressful, and I'm so glad that I actually had enough to complete my shirt because there was quite a while when I was not sure if that was actually going to happen. To sew a gather, you take the widest stitch that you have on your machine and then you do 2 very close lines right next to each other so that you can tie one end, and then using the fabric you pull it across the thread so that it will all gather together into almost like a ruffle. And honestly, last time I did this, I had to Google it, so I was extremely proud of myself. And yeah. Much like the song, I am in fact very sentimental, and I wanted to show off these 3 cross stitch that I found at Savers when I was buying the tank tops and the sheets, and they reminded me, the little blonde boy in PJs at the sink reminds me of my son, and then there's an orange cat which reminds me of our orange cat Tombo, and then because it was a set of 3, I didn't want to separate the third, so I decided to buy them, and I just wanted to show off where they were going.
Here I am with all my bridges burned, just a babe in arms where you're concerned. So lock the doors and call.
We had a tragedy earlier where our D&D mini shelf fell, so please excuse that. The best way I think we have determined to fix a horrible week is to make some weird ass sleeves. But that is it. That is this video. I am so very happy with my 2 shirts that I made. Well, the sleeves at least. Tank tops, you know, reusing. The only thing I would say is that if I were to redo this, I would work really hard to make sure that I did it correctly on the black one so that I wouldn't need the lace. But at the same time, the lace kind of seems like it's going to make it more likely for me to wear it as a normal shirt rather than just as an undershirt, because I think this white one is definitely going to be staying mostly an undershirt. Thank you so much for being here. This is one of my kind of impractical vintage inspired crafts because honestly, are they practical? No. But do they make me feel like a princess? Yes, absolutely. And I am beyond excited to walk around feeling like a princess as often as possible. Thank you so much for being here. So without any further ado, I am going to sign off and I will be seeing you in my next video. Toodles! Whee!